Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to For Collectors. I'm here as always with John. John, thanks for running background for me today.
Hey, no problem. It's what we do on this series here for the rookie card rankings, isn't it? So I can pop in from time to time when I feel like it.
Yeah,
So,
today you're gonna be in the hot seat a little bit more than normal because you do rankings for us. A couple of your stuff's off, so we got to call you out today.
what, you don't like how I ranked Roberto? Is that the problem?
No, actually, you weren't too bad. I guess we can let people know right now. We did have a video. I had a video I did during the week where everybody could pick one extra. We called it a wild card, and Mr. Roberto. I won't show the card yet. Mr. Roberto Clemente did end up being the wild card, so everybody can know.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, we've been doing this series for 8 months. So this originally started on our own channels, well, on Theo's channel when we were doing back and forth live streams on our own channels. So
Yeah,
this is a long time coming for this ultimate show here.
yeah. It's been 8 months in the making. This is going to be our 7th episode in the series and the last episode in the series, unless we come up with a new gimmick. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna. This is one of my favorite live streams, so I'm definitely gonna miss it. But it's really cool that we kind of came to this. I called it the Super Bowl of rookie card rankings. I'm excited. So
Well, it should be exciting because we've got the champions from every previous show that are going head to head now. So,
yep,
we had all the different shows for the decades. What our first original one was the 50s. And
yep,
then we went forward and back one show. And then, it ultimately hit every 40s through 90s. So,
yep, yeah. So this is awesome. I kind of talked about this before, but the reason why I thought of this concept is I saw a lot of collectors out there love rookie cards, but I never saw a show that figured out a way to rank them properly. There was never a formula there. So I said, man, it would be cool to get a panel of guys together that love collecting rookie cards and love talking about baseball and figuring out a ranking. So that's kind of how we got to it. So
you think you did it properly?
I guess we'll see after tonight. We'll see what people think. If you're out there in the comments, I see some people already in there. I wouldn't mind giving a few people shout outs. We got Three Rivers Card Collector, Warren D. We got Steve. We got Dawn Field of Dreams. We got Return to Collecting, Think Blue 77, Jason. So I want to give those guys a shout out for being first in, and Matt from the Card Story. So you want to hit me with the intro, John?
Yeah, we blathered on long enough, so I'll be in the background and until Theo calls me out or I feel the need to provide a quip. So see you guys.
Welcome to For Collectors.
All right, what's up, everybody? Before I bring in our panel, I do want to go over really quickly how we rank these cards. If you watch this series, you already know, but we rank the cards on 3 categories: eye appeal, quality of career, and hobby importance. So basically, every card gets ranked 1 through 19 in each of these, and then we add those up to get an overall score. So they all count for the same amount of points, but you don't have to worry about that. We'll be talking about them. So, John, why don't we bring in our first panel? Oh, Mr. Chris from Missouri. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thanks. Nice to be here, man. Nice to be here.
You know what, Chris? I think people might be getting tired of seeing you, man. You're like Don Livestream now. You took his title away.
Well, speaking of Don Livestream, he called me a clown on his video today, and so it's going to be gloves off here soon. So
yeah, I think he's in the chat tonight too. So.
Well, he's lucky he's in the chat and not on here.
Wow, we got to get you a nickname, Chrissy Livestream. All right, let's bring in the next one. There he is, the ticket leprechaun. What's up, Jake?
What's up, Theo? I'm here for one reason tonight. It's to find out when Chris is going to change his channel name, because I think everyone knows he's from Missouri at this point.
Yeah, he's got a big ego, as big as Missouri, I guess. But hey, Jake's been on. I want to say you've been on all but one of these, right?
Yeah, I missed one.
Okay. All right. Well, Chris has been on all of them. You've been on all but one. And the next guy kind of jumped in. I think he's been on all but two. Go ahead and bring him in, John. There he is. Greg. What's up, Greg?
I wasn't here because I wasn't invited. It wasn't because I didn't want to be here. And I was kind of here because I was in the comments. So I was there. I was still in the bullpen. I was getting loose.
Yeah,
and if it were going to be true, you weren't the first one Theo called out of the bullpen. He called about 3 or 4, and then he messaged me and he said, "Hey, Chris, you think it'd be okay to bring Greg on?" And Jake and I, we didn't know, but we said, "Yeah, let's give him a try."
Well, thanks, guys. In all seriousness, I'm gonna be serious for just a moment. This has been so much fun. It really has. And doing it with you three guys has been a blast. I genuinely look forward to these dates because I get to hang out with you three guys. So I will miss it. Hopefully we'll transition to something similar and do it as well. But it's been a blast doing it with you guys.
Hey, if he's going to be serious, let me be serious too for a moment. Baseball collector's not here, but he's got a daughter getting married today. Yep. And he almost chose us instead of walking his daughter down the aisle, but I think he probably did the right thing.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I don't blame him for not being here. All right. Yeah. Mookie was our first choice, but Mookie said he just wasn't ready yet. He's in the comments for us tonight.
Well, do you remember on what was the show with Tim Allen? The one where he's Home Improvement. And remember the next door neighbor always had his face covered? You could never see his face. That's Mookie. And I actually went to a live taping of that show, and at the bows and the introductions at the beginning, he actually came out with a little face covering and like live to the audience. He really did. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's Mookie.
Oh man! All right, let's get this party started because we're gonna spend some more. Normally we go through the bottom to the top 10 very quickly, but we're gonna take a little bit of extra time on 19 through 11 tonight, just because they won their top 3. But to be honest with you guys, the first card tonight, card number 19, is Frank Thomas. I don't think it's a surprise. That was probably the one card I felt I wish I could get off the list. It really didn't belong with these other cards. So Chris, go ahead and show it. So Mr. Frank Thomas, 1990 Leaf card. It got 15 on eye appeal, 19 on quality of career, and 19 on importance to the hobby. So there is that one. We'll move on to number 18. At number 18, we got the 1983 Topps Tony Gwynn card. It got a 17 for eye appeal, 16 for quality of career, and 18th for importance of hobby.
Oh, show mine. It doesn't have 87 pieces of tape on it.
There you go. Chris had to cover up his butt, I think. All right. We got at number 17, we got the 1992 Bowman Mariano Rivera card. It got a 19 for eye appeal. So dead last on eye appeal, 15 on quality career, and 13 for importance to the hobby. And then after this next one, we'll take a break. We got the 1975 Topps Robin Yount card. It got 11 for eye appeal, 18 for quality of career, and 17 for importance to the hobby. That is the Robin Yount card there.
Sorry, Dylan.
Let's do one more. We'll do number 15, and then we'll talk a little bit. The 1969 Reggie Jackson. It got a 13 for eye appeal, 14 for quality of career, and 15 for importance to the hobby. All right. So out of those cards, I think we went through 19 through 15. Out of those cards, anybody stand out there that we didn't give them any justice? They should have been they should have been up higher. Or you guys think we did pretty good on those ones?
That's exactly who I had, 19 to 15. Not in that order, but yeah, that's who I had.
I tell you, it's going to be hard to. Look who we're choosing from tonight. Anytime you get Mario Rivera in the bottom part of the thing, or Tony Gwynn. Real quick about Tony Gwynn, if you guys can think back to the 80s, you guys gave me a hard time for having Tony Gwynn higher up on eye appeal than like, I don't know, like Wade Boggs or somebody give me a hard time. And I think Greg said, man, all you're seeing is there's rear end going toward first base. And I laid all these cards out on the table and I asked my wife, I said, I want you to choose the 3 worst looking cards. And the first one she chose was Rivera because she said, it looks like he looks like he's got a surfboard. And the second thing she said was, Tony Gwynn, who wants to see his butt running to first base? So I apologize for my problems I had in the 80s.
Yeah, I gotta say, for your old age, you've got a good memory because that was me that said that. So well done.
Well, I have written down every bad thing you've said about me in our time. So it's coming. It's going to come loose someday.
Hey, Greg, why don't you tell everybody what you said in the chat earlier? In the text.
I said I'm really excited for tonight because it's the only time that Chris or Jake will associate with me and hang out with me is in the 4 Collectors group, because I love these guys, but I never communicate with them unless it's on this or in your text group for this. So I don't know what to think of that. I mean, I definitely have some guesses, but
says the guy with the biggest channel with the biggest platform.
That doesn't mean anything. You can come on my channel anytime. You just say, well, come hang out. We'll hang out.
Well, if it's any consolation, Jake and I talk about you all the time. You're just never around.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, that's great. I think Chris said he lost your phone number, so that makes sense.
And in all seriousness, on that list, I had basically that group, but then Reggie, I had a little higher. I didn't have Reggie quite as low as the bottom. I think I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I had Reggie around number, I think like 10 or 11. So that one kind of surprised me that it was that low, but it's not. I don't think it's way out of bounds because there's
You had Reggie 13 overall. I also had him 13 overall. So the one I want to call John on the carpet though. John, get in here.
Well, that's the problem.
So John, you had Mariano Rivera 10th overall. And let me explain why you had him 10th overall. Hobby importance, you had it 10. Career, you had it 9. And eye appeal, you had it 17. So you did have a low eye appeal. So you had him 9 for career, and Jake had him 19 for career. So Jake had him as the worst career out of any player on this list. So why don't you start and say why you thought he should have been higher, maybe?
Well, I'm not surprised at all with Jake because Jake is Mr. Stats Compiler as far as rankings go, and a reliever cannot compile enough stats to satisfy Jake. And I ended up with him kind of in the middle of this list of great players just because he was dominatingly the best person in the history of the sport at the job he was put out to perform. Mm-hmm. And there's no one that's even in the conversation. So that's what drove me for the career quality where, those inner circle Hall of Fame guys that I have at 1 through 8, he couldn't get there. But the guys that are, kind of in the next circles, I put him ahead of. So, I mean, that was kind of my reasoning there because of him just being the best at something ever.
But in fairness to that, and I love Mariano Rivera. Like nobody loves him more than I do, except for maybe his mom. But the problem is that job of the 1 inning closer isn't that old of a job. So to say he's the best ever at that position, like, okay, but that position's only been around for 40 years. Before that, it was guys that would go, 3 or 4 innings, like a Gossage or something. And then before that, those guys just pitched until their arms fell off. So I agree with you. And he is unbelievably dominant, but you can't compare like a power hitter. You can't compare a power hitter over the past 125 years, but you can't compare a closer because the position just hasn't existed that long.
Well, the thing that sealed it for me to raise him that high too was the fact that his postseason numbers add up to a full season worth of innings for like a Hall of Fame starting pitcher. and they're just as good a stats as his regular season numbers of it being just like untouchable. So that was another big thing that pushed it for me, because he's facing the best hitters on the best teams. And really, when you think about his even postseason career, what is there? That one failure with Luis Gonzalez hitting it up the middle is all he had his entire career. That was his only loss in the postseason, and he's got like 200 and something innings.
Yeah,
it's
let's
insane.
I'd love to hear from Jake real quick, and then we'll move on. So, Jake, can a closer ever reach, whatever you want to call it, your mountain of players, or is it automatically an everyday player can beat somebody like a closer, basically?
So I think Mariano is clearly, obviously, far and away the GOAT as a closer. John, I think you would be surprised if we were ranking a bigger list of Hall of Famers. I think you'd be surprised how high I would rank Mariano. But stacking him up against 500 home run guys, 3,000 hit guys, 300 win guys, 3,000 strikeout guys, everybody knows I love my milestones. I just couldn't put him over those. But I think if we went deeper in the Hall of Fame ledger, I would probably rank him higher than you would expect, because he's the all-time leader, and that matters for something.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm driven more by peak performance than compiling. So that's really the difference.
So, Theo, real quick, let me chime in just real quick. The pitching part, I like the argument about him being the greatest at what he does. But the pitching part now is being divided up. And we'll see some of the best at what they do to not ever be in the Hall of Fame. And what I mean by that, you got the best right-handed starter, the best left-handed starter, the best reliever, the best closer. But there's guys out there that are the best setup man. You know, the Royals have been 9 years ago since he went to the World Series, but they would not have won without one pitcher pitching in the 7th inning, one pitching in the 8th, and one in the 9th. And the one that pitched in the 8th the most times was Wade Davis. And he had 2 seasons that were phenomenal. And we'll never put in, I don't know about never, but we will probably never put in a setup guy. And you know, so is Mariano Rivera more important than that guy? Probably. But there's going to be a setup guy that has 20 years of just dominating, and that person will not be in because they get a hold now.
Yeah, that'd be a hold stat, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of how Rivera spent his first season, because they had Wetland.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say isn't a really, really good setup man become the closer? Because that's exactly what happened with Rivera. Is they're like, dude, this guy's a freak. Like and Wetland's out, and then he's the guy. So it's like, I mean, it's like you're the best. It's like being the 6th man of the year award in basketball. It's like you're the best number 2 closer on a team is the best setup man.
Yeah. I do agree with Mookie. The 7th and 8th inning outs are different than 9th inning outs, because obviously also you're gonna put everything at him. You're gonna maybe make substitutions for better batters in there if you need to. I do agree with that.
But it's going to be next soon. It's going to be the most high leveraged out. Meaning, if there's bases loaded in the 6th inning and it's in the playoff, they're going to bring in their best pitcher eventually. They're not going to save Mariano Rivera's till the 9th inning anymore, because the game's going to be over. They're going to bring that pitcher in the 7th inning.
I think that makes sense. Let's move on. But I think it was a really good debate back and forth there. So let's move on to number 14. Number 14. All right. So at number 14, he got 16 for IBL. So not a great looking card. 7 for quality of career, and the card got a 15th for importance to the hobby. It's the 1968 Johnny Bench card.
Chris, you can show it. That's your boy.
That's my boy.
There you go, my boy Blue. So why don't we start with Greg? Greg, you had his career at 6, and Jake had it at 12. So I would love to hear why you ranked his career so high. Chris, I think was kind of in between you guys. I think he had it at 8.
So we were just talking about best player at their position of all time. And Johnny Bench is the best player at his position at all time, only he played every day. and he wasn't just the best, defensive catcher. I mean, there's a couple other guys that could be in the conversation, Von Rodriguez, and there's some other really good defensive ones, but he was unbelievable defensively, and there were some great catchers, but I think 8 out of 10 baseball fans would say maybe 9 would say the best catcher of all time is Johnny Bench. So I don't know how he doesn't crack the top 6, and so I put him at 6.
To be fair, his 75 WAR is the highest catching WAR of all time. But Jake, why did you have him at 12 because of his actually hitting stats, positionless basically? Is that kind of where you came to that?
Same argument as Mo. And I really did debate Bench with the 3 guys that I put right in front of him. I was like, 3,000 hit club, Bench may be the all-time greatest catcher. What is the weight there? And I mean, we're going to say this more than once, but this is the toughest rankings we've done. I mean, we're talking the elite of the elite on most of these guys, minus pre-war players. So it's hard.
Yeah. Before we move on, Chris, do you have any last words about Bench, since he is your boy, about what he meant to just everything, the city, everything?
No, and looking at this, I'm starting to like Greg more and more. I wish I would have, not talked bad about him so much. But again, it's the same argument. The catching position is the toughest position in baseball. I know there's a lot of pressure on the pitcher, but Johnny Bench, the number of people between his WAR and the next catcher on the list, Gary Carter, is a bigger differential than any other position, I believe. I'm going to be wrong here, but there's a different stat that is out there that I looked at, Bill James, but it's a bigger difference between the number 1 catcher and the number 2 catcher than it is between any other positions. Roger Hornsby, Joe Morgan, take the highest of all those, and there's a bigger gap there. And I think if you're going to be the greatest player at the hardest position to play, you should be recognized a little bit more. But I mean, who do you put him ahead of player-wise? I mean, and there's a lot of good players left to show.
Yeah,
good players, plus he's low too because he's on a 2-person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Yep, it's unfortunate. He actually. The crazy thing is he won the 60 show. It was the number 1 card in the 60 show, and it's a little bit unfortunate that it's this low. But there's just some heavy hitters in the 40s and 50s, which we're going to get to, and that really hurt him. So let's get to number 13. All right, at number 13, all right, it got a 14 for eye appeal, which I think is criminal, but quality of career 9. Hobby importance of the card 12. The 1960 Carl Yastrzemski card. Let's look at that bad boy.
I have more of these cards than I realized, but I forgot to get them all out. I'm looking at mine on the wall right now.
That's what I was frantically doing right before this, Greg.
Oh, yeah. I just forgot.
So Greg, you're going to be on the hot seat, brother. I don't know what you were thinking. You had Yaz as 14 for quality of career. Jake, on the other hand, had him at number 7. So just a comparison of low and high. I don't know, man. 14, that's extreme to me. So why do you think he's just a stat compiler? What was your thought process on having him?
I mean, I think he's really good. And as I said to you guys after I did my rankings, is like this was really, really hard. Like, the difference between, Carl Yastrzemski and Reggie Jackson is like it's not that great. But then there's a bunch of people packed in there tight in the middle of this group to me. So, I mean, I could be talked out of being wrong on this one. He did play a long time, like a really long time. So there is and don't throw Rotten Tomatoes at me. There's a little bit of that length of career. We'll call it the Harold Baines effect of playing so long that you do compile some stats. But don't get me wrong. The guy could do he could hit for average. He could hit for power. He could produce. He was tremendous. And that's why I have him out of this incredible list of 19 guys. I have him as the 14th best player. When I look at the list, don't see anybody that I could put him above that I didn't put him above.
I'd love to bring up a debate. All three of you guys had Griffey's career above Yaz's career. So just give me a second to. They both had the same career batting average, 285. Okay. Yaz had 3,400 hits, Griffey 2,781. Obviously, Griffey had 630 home runs. Yaz had 452. So Yaz missing that 500 home runs, that obviously hurts him. And then they both had an MVP. One thing I want to say about Yaz, and I bet you a lot of you guys don't know this, he had the greatest WAR single season out of anybody on this list. His MVP season, he had a 12.4 WAR, which is by far the highest on this list out of anybody for one year. Which is
what do you bat that 307?
We have Mays on this list. What
do you bat that year? 307. Was that its triple crown year?
It was three. Somebody in the chat might know. I thought it was in the 320s actually. But so why do you guys feel so strongly about
326?
326. Okay, why do you guys feel so strongly? And we're going to get to Griffey, obviously. Why do you guys feel like Griffey's career was better than Yaz's career?
I'll jump on that real quick because Griffey was an insane outfielder, and it's not just about your hitting stats, in my opinion. When you're talking about the best player, it's about the best overall player. And Griffey was phenomenal in the outfield, and he was more dangerous on the base paths. And I actually had Griffey a little bit lower in kind of my mind, and I actually kind of beat up on Griffey a little bit when we did the talk from that decade. And you guys like kind of changed my mind. Like I moved him up higher in the pecking order as a result of that conversation. So, but that's the reason for me that I put him above Yastrzemski is because it was more of the 5-tool player instead. Okay. So that's my defense on it.
Yeah, I guess do we say about Griffey though? You know, how many good seasons did he have? And Yaz had what 4 or 5 more good seasons because of injuries to Griffey. I guess that's kind of longevity type of debate with Griffey. What do you think, Chris? You have any thoughts on it or no?
I just think he was better. I mean, there's something in the fact when you watch him play. Now, Yastrzemski was a great outfielder. I mean, he probably played the wall better than anybody at times. But I don't know. They're so close to me. I think I had them all had them probably 2 or 3 apart from each other. I don't know. I don't have my book down here with me, but I don't know. I just think Yaz was a compiler too. I mean, he has a ton more plate appearances. I mean, you put Yaz next to a lot of these guys, and he will surprise you. With plate appearances and
you did have them one spot apart. You were the closest out of anybody actually.
In total bases, he's way up there. There's not too many higher than him. But I just think Griffey was better. Okay.
All right. Well, let's move on. And one comment I saw in the comments, I think Dylan brought up. I'm not talking about eye appeal for certain cards. It's because our eye appeal was so close. I don't feel like whenever I say overall it's a 9, if we had all 8s and 7s, that's probably where it was at, Dylan. I bring up when there's a big discrepancy depending on the category. So that's kind of why we'll have some eye appeal debates for sure. All right. So let's move on. All right. Let's see here. What do we got here? We got number 12. All right. Number 12 overall, 18 for eye appeal. So second to last eye appeal overall, 4 for quality of career, and 13 for importance to the hobby. The 1973 Topps Mike Schmidt card. So with Mike Schmidt, tell me if I'm wrong. He has the best WAR of any third baseman in Major League Baseball history, I believe.
I believe that is correct.
Okay, Chris, you had his career at 4 overall. Greg, you had it at 7, and Jake had it at 8. So, Chris, you want to talk a little bit why you think Schmidt was the fourth best player on this list as far as career goes?
Again, the best player at his position. Probably the best player, one of the two or three best players in the decade of the 70s. He was a great defender. I don't know, by looking at what I have here, I didn't know where to put one of the pitchers. But yeah, I stick with that. I think it's a good choice, fourth overall.
Yeah. We can make up some time here. Let's move on to 11 because we were in a lot of agreements on Schmidt. Let's move on to number 11. At number 11 overall, the 1993 SP Derek Jeter card. It got 11 for eye appeal, 16 for quality of career, and 6 for importance to the hobby. Let's see here. So we had John and Greg. John, if you want to come in, you had Derek Jeter as the 18th best career, and Greg, you had it 17. So why do you guys hate Jeter so bad?
Oh, jeez.
There's a lot of good players on this list.
Jake had him at 11 career. So
when you look at a guy, Jeter is a top 10 hitter of all time for me. He's a top 10 hitter. But if you're talking about, again, a lot of the ones where you guys are calling me out and going, Greg, what's your problem? A lot of it is, I put it as the whole package, the defense, the offense, the everything. And, I know that Jeter won Gold Gloves, and I know that there's the whole debate on did he just win Gold Gloves because he didn't have any range, or was he really good? Because everything he got to, he did well with. And then people say, well, it's because he didn't get to a lot. So it's like this whole conundrum of hard to know. I love Derek Jeter. I'm a Yankee fan. Are you kidding me? Like, Derek Jeter's the guy.
You just threw him in the mud there, man. 17. Wow.
But when I look at it, I'm like, again, I'm looking at the rankings, and there are 15 guys that if I was picking an overall team, I would pick above Derek Jeter. It doesn't mean that Derek Jeter's not good. It just means he's not as good as 15 guys on the list.
Yeah, all these guys are top tier Hall of Famers. So
when on the flip side, I had him at 11 because I just couldn't overlook the fact that he's number 6 all time on the hits list. And he's just under 2,000 runs scored. Like, that's stupid high.
Yeah.
But here in the middle, like you guys said, we're splitting hairs in the middle. What do you prefer in how you look at things?
Well, here's the other thing I'd throw out there too, is part of what makes Derek Jeter special is not Jeter as a player. It's Jeter as a person. It's Jeter as a leader. It's Jeter with the media. And those things aren't part of his quality of career on the field.
That's important.
It had an impact. Yeah, it goes toward importance of the hobby, and I have him 8th on importance of the hobby. So it's like, but that's part of it. Is like he's the captain of this incredible dynasty for a decade and more than that. So, but yeah,
for the record, Greg, we agreed. I also had him 8 for importance to the hobby. So there's that.
Yeah, Chris actually had him highest with 5th on importance to the hobby. And that's one thing. The one thing I mentioned to some people is importance of the hobby was very hard for me, having the 90s and the 40s. Like us, everybody in here loves vintage more than anything else. So we're a little bit skewed. So I'm wondering maybe 8 actually, for how iconic the card is. Maybe 8 is actually not high enough. Like, maybe Chris was right with 5.
Well, the card itself. When there's a couple iconic cards that we're getting ready to show that are just mean a lot to the hobby. But that Jeter was a chase card for I wasn't collecting real hard, but I do know that everybody wanted that Jeter SP card, and it was difficult for me to pick up for the rookie run. And so I think I had that thing up higher than, it wasn't, I didn't go just for the player as far as the hobby goes on this. I looked at the card a little bit and said, okay, how important is this card? Because, we got a person coming up that's super important to baseball and super important to the hobby. But, I didn't think his card wasn't as important to the hobby as this card. And so that's kind of why I have this one up as high as I do. And listen, I'm not a Jeters fan. I'm not a Yankees fan. I'm a small market lover. And, but I do believe there was people that could get the balls standing up that Jeter had to dive for. And when we talked about the 90s, I said that Jeter wasn't the best shortstop on his team. And I still believe that. But again, I think this card and Jeter is important to the hobby. And the plays that he made.
Chris, you just need to make sure your team. You need to make sure your team spends all of their revenue sharing money, because their payroll is it's below what they get from the league. So
when was the last time Yankees won a World Series?
Yeah. The way the World Series is now, where 20 teams make the playoffs, and it's all about one game knockout and stuff.
Yeah.
When was the last time the Royals won a World Series?
9 years ago, and so just I'm just.
Do you
saying.
guys still have a waterfall in center field?
We do.
Cool. That's really cool.
We do, and that's why I hate Chris Chambliss to this day.
He was the hitting coach during our dynasty.
I feel like I was really similar to Chris on Hobby Import with him too, because I'm looking at my rankings, and everyone I put above him on Hobby Import, they're either someone that every single person would agree that person is a legend, not just in one of them, not just baseball, but the world. And one of them is the card of an entire generation. So, he's pretty high it's kind of the card of the 90s, isn't it? Really? For baseball?
Yeah, because technically Griffey's card is the 80s, but it really kind of, it's 89, right? So it went right into the 90s. But I would say it's got to be the most iconic card that came out in the 90s, right? A baseball card? I don't see.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. John, before we get into the top 10, what's some of the highlights from the I know you can't get back through all the chat, but I did see Dylan and some people clamoring that Reggie Jackson got jobbed by the panel today.
There is a lot of backlash. Dylan is not happy with our rankings, and I think that is because all of his rankings are based off of card appearance.
Okay.
Really, because that's more his thing, is the how the card looks. And for this rankings, that's only 1/3 of the score. So, yes, the Reggie Jackson is a better looking card than a lot of the ones ranked higher, but the appearance was only 1/3 of the score. The guy's the all-time strikeout king. Yes, he had some World Series moments, but those other factors of his career not being quite the spectacular as some of these other guys are pulling that card down. So.
Yeah. Any other mentions of any other players that we screwed up, or nothing yet so far?
That was the biggest one. Is he keeps saying Reggie that I noticed, but
I love Dylan.
Well, the guy has like 50 Robin Yount rookies, so he was mad about Robin Yount too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He just likes the card, man. He doesn't even like Robin Yount.
I sent him a bunch of Robin Yount cards the other day, so you better like him.
I can't believe I'm saying this and defending Reggie, but when I was a kid, and Reggie was the man, and I hated that because, again, he's with the Yankees. He was great with the A's, but when he was with the Yankees, we talked about Nolan Ryan and some of his no-hitters and some of his great moments. There's very few players in the league that had great moments that they stepped up to at the right time. And Reggie Jackson has that. And I hate how arrogant he was but he was the straw that stirred the drink, man.
He was a hot dog with extra mustard.
That's what Thurman said.
One of the funny things, just personally, is my dad was using a Reggie Jackson glove when he was playing softball when I was a little kid, and he did not like the arrogance of Reggie Jackson. So he said he personally told me that he always liked spitting in his glove because he spit right on the Reggie and then he rubbed it in before he started a game.
That is funny.
I got a quick Reggie story I have to share though. So I was went to spring training in Tampa Bay when this is about 2000, and I was in the restaurant of the hotel, and in the booth next to me, George Steinbrenner sits down and starts eating with his wife. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to go get a ball. We have to have George Steinbrenner sign a ball. So I run up to our room upstairs, get the ball to bring it back down. And I grabbed a couple of balls. And as I'm walking through the lobby, I walk past Reggie Jackson. And I'm like, hey, Reggie, will you sign my ball? And Reggie goes, man, you guys just need to let the players rest. You need to let the players rest. And I'm with my brother. I'm like, is he still playing? Like, what is he talking about? You're not playing, Reggie. And that's just all Reggie right there.
That's hilarious. All right, let's get into the top 10. All right, so I'd love to hear. Usually, I ask the chat this at the very end, but let's put them in the hot seat. I want to know who you think what card you think is gonna end up being number one, and then John, we'll go back to that list when we get to maybe the top 3 or something, and see who everybody picked for their top number one card based on the categories. All right, at number 10, overall, we got 10 for eye appeal, 11 for quality of career, and 11 for importance to the hobby. The 1975 Topps George Brett card. One of Chris's favorite cards. Chris, you want to tell the story about you buying an engagement ring with those?
I did. True story. I used 15 George Brett rookie cards to purchase put a down payment for an engagement ring for my wife. That's a great card. I can't believe it's chosen as high as it was, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to make the top 10, but go ahead, Jake.
Imagine the ring your wife could have got if he didn't play in a small market.
Imagine the husband she could have married if she lived in a bigger market.
Well, I changed my name on the screen for you, Chris. I'm not a small market lover like you, so.
He can't read that. It's too small.
You said a few minutes ago that you love small markets.
Get that a little closer.
Well, they moved it now because they're showing the thing, so you can't see it. But check out my name as soon as I go back.
Here's an eye appeal for Dylan. So Jake had this as the 10th eye appeal card, which you were the highest, and actually John was lowest at number 3. I'd love to hear from Dylan in the chat. Dylan, out of these 19 cards, what number you think you would have this at? Because I know the 75 set is one of your favorites. So, Jake, are you not a big fan of the 75 set, the look of it?
I don't love it. It's right in the middle, basically over most of the modern cards, minus the multiple player guys. And just for fun, I had Brett and Yount literally back to back in the rankings. I like the Brett better than the Yount, so take that, Dylan.
Dylan said 11. Interesting. 11 for eye appeal. Okay. It wasn't as high as I thought it would be. Okay. All right.
I mean, you wouldn't design a surfboard after the George Brett rookie then, Jake? Because I know a guy who designed a surfboard, which in fact I think he cracked it in half the other day, didn't he?
It
Dylan,
was the
did you break your surfboard the other day?
Yeah, it was the Brett surfboard cracked.
The Brett surfboard he cracked in half the other day.
Oh no!
On like a sandbar or something.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
That's funny. All right, Let's get to number 9. I don't think there's a ton to cover here with the Brett card. Everybody was pretty close on everything. At number 9 overall, got a 5 for eye appeal, 12 for quality of career, and 9 for importance of the hobby. The 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson card at number 9. This is where the ranking starts getting spicy. So Greg, you said ooh. You actually had this card 12th overall. You were by far the highest. So
it's a tough
this
one.
This is what you wanted to happen.
So it's a tough one because of the 48 leaf. If there was only one, I mean, it's tough because of that. It's like I feel like having the 2, it waters it down a little bit, makes it tough. It's a really cool card that has grown on me a lot. And, for a long time, everyone was like the 48, 49 leaf is the only rookie card. And then now it's sort of agreed that the leaf is 49. So then there's 2 rookie cards. So let me ask you, Chris, which is Jackie Robinson's true rookie card?
Both. Chris is frozen. He is confused. He's perplexed.
He's thinking.
He doesn't know.
It was a tough question. Okay, so my question was to you, Chris. What is Jackie Robinson's true rookie card? Does he have 1? Does he have 2? What is his true rookie card?
His internet.
Man, the dial-up is affected by the negative 15-degree weather that he's got going on.
All right, let's give him a second. I can let's see if he comes back. Greg, you had this card, and Chris,
I'm having trouble here.
Chris, hold the card up if you're able to. So Mookie's never going to talk to you again, Greg. You had this as the 14th for eye appeal, and Jake had it for number 2. So why don't you explain why you hate the card so much? Why is it so ugly?
I love the card. I'd love 14? To have the card. 14. I mean, Darren, my buddy Darren, returned to collecting. He just got a 5 the other day, and it's freaking gorgeous. Like, I love it. But if you look at the eye appeal, I mean, I don't know what I don't know. Again, it's like you're like in a museum. We're in a museum. We're in the Louvre right now, and you're walking around and you're saying, rank your top 10 paintings. And you go, that's my number 10. They go, you put that last, you're crazy. And it's like, whoa, compared to all these other ones, it's number 10. It's a great card. I would love to have one. But
oh my gosh. You're not even going to defend yourself. Jeez.
I don't know what to tell you.
As the person that ranked it 2, I love the early 50s and the early 40s and the pre-war stuff that really does look like art. And something about that Jackie with the red of the background, the blue and white of the jersey, it just screams Americana to me. So it was an easy number 2 for me.
So Greg, you hold up the George Brett and the Yount card, okay?
Yeah.
And then you hold up the Jackie card, and you get some just random person who doesn't like baseball cards, and you go, What do you think about these? They pick up that Jackie card and be like, this is America. This is baseball. They're not going to pick up
who the player is.
I think if it was just a picture and nobody knew who they were, I mean, I ranked the Yount 13, and I ranked the Jackie 14, and then I ranked the Brett 8, and I ranked the Jackie 14. So yeah, I think just eye appeal, looks of it, color, the image. I mean, part of the issue is it's like, I mean, it's older, so it's like a little blurry, but I love the card. I mean, I can't say anything bad about the card. I like it, but it's just the 14th best.
All right. I'll let you off the hot seat. So Jake, you had it hobby importance at number 6. Greg had it at hobby importance 11. So why? I think a lot of stuff had to do with Greg taking the Leaf card and saying this is the true rookie, and I'm gonna downgrade this other Jackie card is what it feels like a little bit. But why do you feel like that card's so important? I guess do you really explain it a little bit?
If Jackie only had one rookie, because if Dave Blue Jacket 66 watches this 1949 Leaf, you're welcome, Dave. But if he only had one, it would be higher. If it was only the 1949 Bowman, I'd put it even higher than that. But the Leaf, if I had to pick one in terms of importance to the hobby, giving away my own ranking, it would be higher. It's more iconic. It's a tougher card. It probably stands out a little bit more, the portrait style of Jackie that's on the Leaf as opposed to the Bowman. But hobby importance overall, it was going to be one of the Jackies because of what he did for the game. No. Where I have him in terms of career, because I figured you're going to pick on me eventually, Theo, because I have him very low.
That'll be for the Leaf card.
Okay, I'll stop then. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll save that a little meat on the bone there.
Okay.
Chris, are your internet good now, you think?
I can hear you guys now. I couldn't hear you at all. I don't know what was going on.
Oh, yeah. Darren's about to get canceled. He hates the Bowman Jackie card, so just messing with you, Greg. All right, let's let Greg off the hot seat. Let's move on because we got to talk about Jackie again soon. At number 8 overall, 5 for eye appeal, 10 for quality of career, and 10 for importance of the hobby, the 1949 Bowman Satchel Paige card. Ooh. Yeah. All right, so we actually have an interesting one here. We got eye appeal. Chris ranked it the second best looking card, and Greg ranked it 12th, and John ranked it 14th. So we're way off here as far as eye appeal goes. So Chris, why don't you talk a little bit about why you love the card?
Well, one of the first time Greg was on here, we had this Satchel Paige, and these cards with the Bowman cards with their portraits usually have it faced on. Mm-hmm. And I like this thing so much because, again, I think it envelops so much stuff in there. I mean, he looks like this is the first time he gets to pitch in Major League Baseball because somebody's held him back because of his color. And it looks like to me that he's standing on the mound there staring at the next guy on deck, that he's getting ready to strike out, and he's getting ready to take all his pinned up wrath on that person. And I just think it's got a sad, mean look to it. And it's just a beautiful card. And I know I'm reading more into that card than most because there's no catchy little second picture of him on there, or it's not an inaction card or something like that. And he's not smiling, but I think it looks great because he's not smiling. And I'm glad there's a couple cards like that. And that looks like that's a beautiful looking frustration piece to me.
So, yeah, I love everything you said there. So Greg, since you didn't like it as much as some of the other cards.
First of all, that was poetic, Chris. Seriously, that, like, honestly, I'm sitting there looking, going, I literally want to change my ranking on the eye appeal right now, like, because what you just said, I'm like, wow, like that's deep, and I love it. I did rank it kind of low, and again, for me, the 49 Bowmans are kind of the clarity, the registration of the pictures are just a little fuzzy to the point where I can't say that card is as pretty as a George Brett rookie card. It's great, and honestly, I would absolutely, again, I would love to have one. My buddy Darren picked one up at the National, and his is gorgeous, and I would love to have it. I would love to have that card. That's in the top 5 or 10 cards I'd like to have. But if you're looking at just the picture, I don't have it as high. And as far as the importance, I don't feel like it's a super recognizable card. If I went into the National, I asked 10 guys, hey, can you picture the Satchel Paige Bowman rookie card? I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to picture it. But if I said, can you picture the 51 Bowman Willie Mays, they could. And so to me, a lot of the importance is like the recognition when you say the card, how many people can visualize the card. And I think a lot of people can't visualize that card. but it's a gorgeous card, and I'd love to have the card. And I ranked him as career. I ranked him number 3.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. John, do you want to defend your 14th ranking for the eye appeal before I move on to the
I
career?
had a lot of similar points that Greg brought up in terms of registration eye appeal on that set. And I am just also not a fan of the whole colorization of the photo cards. So like 41 play ball is my least favorite of those 3 sets. And likewise, I'll take a 48 Bowman all day over 49 as well because of that same thing. It just doesn't appeal to me when they add the fake looking coloring. It detracts to me from the photo. And I do have to comment on Chris's story because if any of you saw the Drew of Vintage Legacy, his recent video where he told a completely fake story about a pitchback, that's kind of what I felt like we got there with Chris's little story about the satchel card. So, yeah, so that's all I have to say about that one. But yeah, I think 49 Bowman is ugly because of what they did to it, the photos.
I disagree. All right, let's move on to the career though. This is the biggest gap we've had in one category for anybody. Greg had his career at 3, and Jake had his career at 18. Like, that's the biggest gap we've had in any category for any player in this whole ranking. So, Chris, you want to go before they talk? What is he showing? Oh, you're guessing the next card. Let's talk about Satchel Paige real quick. So, Jake, why did you have him in 18?
Satchel Paige is easily the most difficult person to rank on this entire list because from any perspective where you rank him, it's impossible to truly know how great he was because of the documentation of the Negro Leagues and what we do and what we don't have. And I couldn't get past the idea of I don't have anything as far as hard statistics. As you guys know, I'm a stats guy. Do I believe that Satchel Paige would have been one of the greatest players of all time had he not been robbed of that opportunity? Yes, I do. If you guys watched Iconic Al's recent video about what his career could have looked like as he extrapolated his statistics had he played in Major League Baseball the whole time, incredibly well done and put together and can give you some insight into that. But I couldn't get over asking myself the same question. Well, Satchel Paige is a what if had he played in Major League Baseball that time? What if Ken Griffey Jr. didn't have an injury-riddled career? What if Don Mattingly didn't have an injury-riddled career? What if Chris from Missouri hadn't played in a small market in the 1910s in high school baseball? I just couldn't do it on the what if.
Okay,
sure.
So Greg, did you base yours off of what if? How did you give him 3?
Mine is based off of anecdotal writings, evidence, articles, books of what he was. I think you're right. I think you made beautiful points. I think you made really, really good points. But because of the difficulty of the situation, I think that's why it would be the largest gap is because, and someone in the comments mentioned, it's like Josh Gibson. It's the same thing. It's like people talk about, was he one of the best players of all time? Like, we don't really know. You only know based on what, people say that were there. And based on what people say that were there, Satchel Paige was freakishly good. And not only that, but they abused his arm. I mean, he just threw and threw and threw and threw, and it just kept going and going and going. And it was like, to put up with the fact that he had to play as much as he had to play and pitch as much as he had to pitch. I mean, yeah, it is anecdotal. So it's a really difficult one to rank, but just based on the things that I've heard, based on the anecdotal things, based on stuff I've read, that's where he fell for me.
Well, I think the story, like I saw Jason Everyday Card Collector, he said socially what he overcame and is tied to the Negro League and Jackie are bigger than stats. I agree, but that speaks to hobby importance, in my opinion. One of the 3 categories, not quality of career. Because I rank Satchel Paige pretty high in hobby importance, but I didn't in quality of career, because I view quality career as hard factual, where like the anecdotal stuff that Greg's talking about, which I definitely think paints part of the picture, I see that as more in line with hobby importance. The legend of Satchel Paige is great. It's amazing. If you believe some of the things about him going out there and pitching all these barnstorming games and having his fielders sit down and, going into the dugout after he gets the first out and everybody's off the field as he finishes the inning, that's legendary. That puts him, in my opinion, very high in hobby importance because of his story. But those were not done in Major League Baseball. So those weren't even recorded as stats in terms of quality of career, if you will.
That's interesting. Let me just throw in one thing before you jump in, Chris. I think that your definition of hobby importance and my definition of hobby importance is different because, like I had mentioned a second ago, to me, an important card is a recognizable card that kind of changed the hobby. It kind of changed the trajectory, and so I put a lot of my weight there. But anyway, go ahead, Chris.
So what I did, because I agree with you, Jake. It's hard to say where he belongs, but to me, it's going to be the Ichiro question or the Sada Otter O question. If we rank them, how good they would be, because we'll never we haven't seen any videos of him when he was in his prime. We don't know if Ichiro would have won it would be the all-time hit king, right? Because we just don't know because we can't compare. So what I did was a really weird thing here, and I did it on purpose. Is I ranked him. I knew how good Johnny Bench was. I got to see him play. I think he's the greatest catcher in the world ever, and he's my favorite player. So to honor Satchel Paige, as far as quality of career, I decided to put him one person ahead of my favorite player of all time. That's what I did.
I think when you start talking about some guys like an Ichiro and you compare him to like a Satchel Paige, one person had the opportunity stolen from them, and the other person didn't. And so for me, I have a hard time when we talk about, well, they don't have the stats, so they don't really count. And it's like, so we stole it from them, and then we are stealing like their status from them. We're stealing the legend from them too. It's like a continuation of the punishment of not being allowed to play. So we're saying, well, you didn't have the stats, so you weren't, you don't get to be ranked high. And it's like, but that's not his fault. He wanted to have the stats. So now we stole the opportunity from him, and now his legend doesn't get to rank up with these other guys because it was stolen from him. It's like at some point we have to just say, wait a second, like he was freakishly good. Yeah. And he needs to be up there. And I know that baseball has tried to, accept some of the Negro League stats and stuff, and the stats aren't very good, or, they're not as thorough. But it's like that was a step in the right direction of saying, no, we're going to honor a lot of those stats. So if you look on like Baseball Reference for a lot of those guys and stuff, you can see a lot of their Negro League stats towards the end, right before the integration. So that's the hard part for me. Is I totally respect what you're saying, but I feel like it's just continuing on the crime, by not fully like stamping them where I think they deserve to be.
Here's the thing. We did put him in the Hall of Fame, though. We did put him in the Hall of Fame, so he must have been good. By his stats that he has in the Negro Leagues that we have accepted, he would not be in the Hall of Fame by those stats alone because they're not very good. Because the Negro League was terrible about keeping stats, and it was very difficult. But I agree with you. I agree. We keep punishing him by what we're talking about here. But that's why I thought I should put him where I knew my favorite player should be, or where I thought he should be. So I put him one more than my favorite player. So.
I disagree.
Can I just ask a question real quick?
Go ahead.
The Negro League talent at that time, how close was it to the NBA talent? What do you guys say about that as far as the players he was facing and things like that?
We're going to
look at the guys when they came into the league. Look at the guys when they came into the league. Look at Hank Aaron. Look at Ernie Banks. Look at Willie Mays. Look at Jackie Robinson. Look at all these guys. As soon as they come into the league, they're stars. They're all stars. So it's not like it was a league. And somebody made the comment about Pete Rose saying if he played in Japan that he'd have 6,000 hits. But that's comparing Major League Baseball players to Japanese players at that time. Well, we're comparing that. We know how good the Negro League players were because when they came into the league, they were the biggest stars. They were unbelievable. So he was facing really good talent.
Yeah, I guess Jake's point was probably because Jake was kind of rebuttaling what I said. I think Jake's point was maybe top to bottom. There's a lot, like maybe the top 15 are great, but then the bottom half is not not.
And a lot of the Negro League stats, some of those guys would not play a full season because they would go barnstorming because they could make more money barnstorming than they could playing in the league. We have a guy in town that are from Glasgow here named John Donaldson that played 25 games a season or so in the Negro Leagues, but then he'd go barnstorming because he could make more money. And, they're trying to get him in the Hall of Fame now. And he was very close the last time they were up. But that's just a hard argument.
I'll let Jake have the last word. We're going to move on, though.
I'm not going to argue the talent of the Negro Leagues versus MLB at the time because Greg already made a good point about that. And in all reality, we also don't know the answer to that. We'll never know. But the only thing I want to kind of rebuttal is the idea that we're continuing the punishment of Satchel Paige. Maybe we are on this show, but in reality, in the world of baseball, Satchel Paige has a plaque just like so many other people that are in Hall of Fame, and they don't get a special wing or anything like that. They've accepted Negro League statistics as Major League statistics, as they should be, and he is in the Hall of Fame with us knowing a fraction of what he had done. I think that speaks volumes. If we knew 10% of what your career was, and we say you're one of the greatest of all time, that speaks to how great you really were.
Fair point.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
Very fair point. All right, let's move on to number 7. At number 7, he got 5th for eye appeal, 12th for quality of career, and 3rd for importance of the hobby, the 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson card. And Chris actually jumped the gun. He actually called this one. All right, so Chris, for eye appeal, you have this card at 13. I have it at 2. Jake has it at 3, and Greg has it at 4. I think this card is amazing. Why do you not like the eye appeal of that card very much?
Again,
why do you hate the card, Chris?
I just hate those Leafs.
Get him, Greg.
I don't know. Again, the Leafs are a little blurry to me. You guys. That's when I got off the air that I couldn't hear you guys talking about the Bowman card. I love what I heard Greg say about it. It looks old, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of good looking cards here, man. And
that's a great looking card. I had it 2, Jake had it 3, and Greg had it 4. So we're talking. There's a big difference between. It's just an amazing looking card.
I've talked about this a couple of times, but 2 months into my YouTubing, I made a video and I said, I called it expensive, ugly cards. And I went through a list of cards and I was like, these are ugly cards, but they're super expensive. And one of them was the 48 Leaf Jackie. And one of them was the 52 Topps Mini Minoso. Because it looks like he's got this. It looks like he's got so much sweat on his face. It's like his face looks shiny and stuff. And I didn't like him. And somebody in the comments responded and they said, "Dude, you don't get it. The 48 Leafs, those are like, yeah, that card. See how it looks like his face, like his cheek, and I didn't get it. and I appreciate that card more now than I did then. But it's like somebody said, it's like they're like the 48 Leafs are like Andy Warhols. And as soon as you get that, you'll realize how beautiful it is. And it was like a light went off. And I was like, yeah, it went from me thinking it was a horribly ugly card to an absolutely beautiful card with one comment is you don't get it. It's like an Andy Warhol painting. And then suddenly I'm like, I love the card. I need the card.
Agree.
The 49 Jackie is like a Van Gogh. 49 Bowman.
So when we rank when we rank these rookies again next year or 2 years from now when we get together to do a reunion tour, instead of having eye appeal, which one's the prettiest, which one I want to do it. Which one would you rather take to the prom? Meaning, which one would you rather have? Instead of eye appeal, that I would love to have it, because that is one of my favorite cards that I have. But it also, these shiny things are prettier. These brand new 2024 blue refractor camouflage, orange peel, whatever. They're pretty. But would I rather have that? No, I would rather have this card. So,
yeah.
So again, you're talking to the guy that picked Tony Gwynn's butt going to first base as a better eye appeal than Wade Boggs. So what do I know?
I think for me, if that Jackie, the 49 Leaf Jackie it is a 49. The 49 Leaf Jackie is in my top 3 cards I would want. And as far as cards that I might be able to actually own, it's number 1. Like there's a couple of cards, like I would like to have the Cracker Jack Joe Jackson. Never going to happen. The only card, the highest attainable card that I'll ever own is that card. So I absolutely love it.
Here's John. He picked this card at 16 for eye appeal. So
I'm surprised you didn't call me out on that.
I felt so bad. Like, I guess Chris has company though. So go ahead.
Hold up that card, Chris. It's like the photo is horrible.
No, it's not. I disagree.
What kind of facial expression is that? It's
a happy one.
It's not this one.
But the 49 Bowman is so much better for the photo.
At least you have his name. You have his name on the front.
I don't know. I just don't like the look of that card at all.
I had the 49 Bowman number 3 for eye appeal.
I had Bowman higher than the Leaf.
Yeah, I had Bowman.
John, your reasoning to put it at 16 because the Bowman looks better. It's at 16. Like it still doesn't add up.
Yeah, and I hate the 49 Bowman set, but that just shows how horrible I think that one looks.
I had the 49 Leaf as number 13.
But
why do you hate the cards?
I have lower on appearance are the Rivera senior portrait and the 2 combo cards. So
that's tough. All right. I would talk to Jake about having Jackie at 16 for career, but we kind of talked about that with Paige. I really don't think we need to go down that road again. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6, let's see here. It got 8 for eye appeal, 6 for quality of career, and 7th for importance to the hobby. The 1980 Topps Ricky Henderson card at number 6. Now, my personal opinion, if somebody said, show me what a baseball card looks like, that the card has everything, in my opinion. It's got the facsimile signature. It's got the team logo. To me, that's a baseball card, but let's talk a little bit about it. So eye appeal, Greg had it at 11. John had it at 6. So maybe, Greg, you don't like the look of it as much as I do. So.
No, I love it. I love it. But historically speaking, I like a tighter shot. I like a shot where you can see the guy and recognize the guy more. I love the yellow top and the uniform and the green helmet. I think that's cool. I like the things that you said. I mean, as a kid, that was a chase card. When Ricky was having his run with the A's, which should have been toward the end of his career, but he still kept going. But it's a great card. I like the card where you can see the guy, and you just can't see him that well there.
So for career, you actually had him at 9.
Oh yeah,
Jake had him at 3. So it's an interesting. Jake, you want to talk about why you think Henderson had the 3rd best career? Maybe
Ricky loves Ricky, and so does Jake. No, I mean, he's the all-time stolen bases leader. He's the all-time runs scored leader. The all-time stolen bases will never be broken. Never, ever, ever, ever. He's arguably the greatest leadoff man of all time. I'll tell you guys a Ricky Henderson story that I really like. For those of you that don't know, I'm in the ministry full-time. That's what I do. So I really get a kick out of this story. So Ricky was really bad at knowing players' names, even his teammates. He was really, really bad at it. Okay. So there was a time that Ricky was on a bus. This is a 2-part story here. Ricky was on a bus. He played for several different teams. And there was this guy on his team that Ricky said, I used to play with a guy that used to wear a helmet in the field like you did. And the player was John Olerud. And John Olerud said, Ricky, that was me. We forgot it was him. But how this comes around to ministry is this other player was trying to tell Ricky about Jesus. He was witnessing to him. And he asked Ricky the question, Ricky, have you ever heard the verse John 3:16? And Ricky responded, Ricky don't want to hear about no John 3:16. Ricky batting 330.
Oh my gosh. Well, Ricky, he literally took $1 million signing bonus and put it in a frame on the wall.
Yep.
And the A's were balancing their books and were $1 million short. And they're like, Ricky never cashed the check. And they called him and they're like, you never cashed the check? He's like, no, it's on my wall. I mean, that guy's something. He's something else.
That is so funny. So many great stories.
And we said this, one of the few left-handers that batted right-handed that made it to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. So we're getting into the top 5, guys. What so far? How are you guys feeling about 10 through 6? Any cards you feel that should have made the top 5?
Well, all 5 of my top 5, I think, are the 5 that are left, unless I'm mistaken. I'm just glancing over. I think my top 5 are the top 5.
Nope, I got it all right. My top 5 are the top 5.
Same thing for me.
I didn't have all top 5. I have one in the 5 that is not in the top 5.
Which one is it?
I had the Leaf Jackie at 5th.
I had it 6th.
No. All right. Well, John, could you give us an update on what everybody thought number 1 was going to be?
Sure. These are all the ones I captured from earlier. We've got Dylan with the Hank rookie card, Jason Hank Aaron, Mookie Hank Aaron. I wonder what Matt from the card store picked. Will picked the Aaron. Mike Petty thinks a setter card will be number 1. So the Dylan influence there.
Is that Dylan or Mike?
Mike Miller's went away from the rest with it picking the Mantle.
Okay.
Hammer 44, predictably number 1, Hank Aaron. Then Mantle, Mays, Koufax. Koufax wasn't even on our list, though, was he?
No, he got number 5. He got number 6 actually in the 50s because it was Clemente 4, Ernie Banks 5, I think, and Koufax 6. So yeah.
So those are the ones I gathered. Oh, here we have some new entries here.
Harold Bates.
I won't tolerate the Harold Blaine slander.
Nolan Ryan also did not make the cut, being a combo card.
Darren knows that. He voted for the Clemente as a wild card. So
yeah.
All right.
So that was our predictions there.
All right. Thank you, John. All right, let's get to number 5. At number 5, it got 3 for eye appeal, 8 for quality of career, and 4 for importance to the hobby. The 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. card. There we go. So
that's one, Greg, where I think the importance to the hobby in terms of the card itself and how it impacted the hobby absolutely affected where I ranked it.
Yeah, it completely changed the hobby.
Agree.
that was a hard
that was -2.
Let me see here. So Jake had it hobby importance. Jake had it 5, Greg had it 4, Chris had it 2, and John had it 4. So that's kind of the breakdown. Chris actually had it the lowest at number 2, which I can actually see the argument for it being the second most important card to the hobby, actually. Let's talk about eye appeal of the card. Greg, you actually had that as the second best looking card that we see today. What do you love about it?
It's gorgeous. I mean, it's like I told you I like the tighter shots, and it's just you say Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, everybody knows the card. Everybody knows the card. He's 18 or whatever he was at the time. It's a perfect shot. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful card.
Jake actually had it 9 for eye appeal. Jake, you had some of the Bowman cards above it. Why do you like the Bowman cards better than that Griffey card, I guess?
Nostalgia, art. Like if it was just the picture of Griffey, that makes me think of everything that we talk about with the Griffey card, with the iconic nature of it, the period of time, the kid, the swagger, the chain, all that. It's some of the other stuff on the card that it looks like I made it in Microsoft Paint in like 1997 when I was 6 that I don't love. Like the little outfield box and the green and brown stripe down the side. And I don't like the logo in the little circle with the rookie. I just don't like it. If all that didn't look like I made it in Microsoft Paint in 1997, it would be number 1.
Chris, what do you have to say?
I think I had it ranked high just on importance to the hobby, and I think I had it 5th or 6th on eye appeal. And I tell you, if they would have had the foresight back then to make this card with his hat turned around backwards as his rookie card, this would be the greatest card of all time. Because I think Mookie Chilson or somebody had put on here, what did he ever win besides the home run derby? Being funny.
Golden Gloves.
But I always said there's only 3 people that look good with their hat turned around backwards, and that's rappers, Ken Griffey Jr., and a catcher.
And me.
No, turn that thing around.
Come on, Chris. You can't disrespect me on my own show.
He's just mad you can't wear that derby thing backwards.
I can, but I look like a French waiter.
You look like Samuel L. Jackson.
But that card is more recognizable in the hobby right now than any other card. There's no card more recognizable than any. You got all the vintage collectors. Even though Mangini would tell me, nah, something else is, or Rick Oddball Cards, when they see that card, if you show them a shadow of that card, they'll know exactly what it is. You show it to them, you show it to a guy that's 18 years old, they'll know what that card is. And so
you think over 52 Mantle? You think over 52 Mantle, Chris? Which is not a rookie, obviously.
I probably do. Okay. And that's almost a sin me saying it, because of course I think that 50. I would know that 52 more than anybody. But again, I'm 30 years older than the new kids that might be starting to get into vintage. And I know Ken Griffey Jr. is not vintage, but their dads had that card now. The kids' dads had that card. And so, yeah, I think it's as recognizable as any card out there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to number 4. Very disappointed in you guys, but at number 4 is a great card. I got 2 for eye appeal.
Off the scrap heap, by the way. It was
4
in the.
Greg, be quiet.
Down.
Be quiet, Greg. 4 for quality of career, and 7 for importance of the hobby. It's the 1955 Roberto Clemente rookie card. Got mine here too. Oh. Okay.
We can just move. We can just move on.
Well, actually, John.
Never heard of him.
John's nickname's the Clemente hater now. John had this card as 2 for eye appeal. So, John, why don't you say why you love the card so much?
Honestly, I really love the 55 set. I mean, that's so like Jackie Robinson, that's the card I'm targeting is the 55 when I get one. So that was probably the largest factor for me. I like almost every card in that set.
Yeah. All right. Well, you could talk a little bit about how great Clemente looks on the card, the red, the Pirates logo, one of the best logos of all time. I mean, geez, John.
In spite of it being a Pirates card, it still looks good because of that set. So
you're using up all your content, Theo. Save it for your channel.
I think we had him too high for quality of career.
You think 4 was too high? I can actually go and look what we ranked him.
I had him at 6, but
I had him at 6.
But
I had him at 6.
I had him at 5.
Had him at 5.
Okay. Yeah. So, but again, I'm doing further research.
Okay.
We have 2 pitchers on this list.
Yes.
And the only 2 players other than those 2 pitchers that he had more stolen bases than was a catcher and Frank Thomas. Everybody else on the list had more stolen bases than Roberto Clemente. That is amazing.
Who had more Golden Gloves on the list than Clemente? Just one.
Willie
Right?
Mays.
Luckily, they just hit it right at him because apparently he wasn't fast enough to go get it.
I never realized that Clemente's big thing was stolen bases, his big calling card.
But isn't that a thing though that we think of him as a 5-tool player, right?
Well, he was always hitting doubles and triples, so you usually don't get a stolen base off of a double.
Well,
lots of triples.
he had less triples than I don't know. No, but I always when I looked at that, I thought that was strange that he did not steal bases, and I'm trying to figure out why he stole 88 bases his entire career, and
it seems strange because he was fast.
It was not, and he wasn't very good at it. He wasn't very good at it. He'd get thrown out if he stole 8 bases. He was thrown out about 4 times per 8 bases that he stole, and that's something that I'd like to figure out.
I don't know. Maybe it was the coaching staff, the philosophy in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. In Pittsburgh, probably.
But in 57, Maury Wills came over and had almost 60 stolen bases. So that, to me, it's a weird thing. I'm not making fun of Roberto Clemente. I just want to get down. I want to get to the bottom of that.
Well, Maury Wills was in the Sandlot, so.
It's like I could give some bonus points.
All right, let's get on to number 3 because we were so close on Clemente. There's really no arguments, to be honest with you. At number 3 overall, he got an 8 for eye appeal, a 1 for quality of career, and a 5 for importance of the hobby for the card. It's the 1951 Willie Mays card. Chris, you're the only one. So, Chris, as you hold that up, is that a tarp behind him?
Exactly.
So how I want to know, how did Jake give this a 5 on eye appeal? There's a tarp behind the guy. Go ahead, Jake.
It's the same reason I rank all the other Bowman cards high. I love the artwork on it. I don't care if there's a tarp behind the guy. It looks better than that Jeter foil card.
Oh my. All right. Let's see here. Greg ranked it 9 for eye appeal. He's actually the highest, actually. In hobby importance, John ranked it 2 and Chris ranked it 7. Chris was the highest for hobby importance. So, Chris, what was your thought process on being at 7 for hobby importance for the card?
Again, I took the card. And the ones I ranked higher than him, the card I believe is more important. For years as a kid, having this card, I thought behind him was a sand dune. I thought it was some kind of sand dune. I never looked at it, and I don't know as far as hobby importance for the card. I know I put Griffey ahead of it, and I know I put the Mantle and Aaron ahead of it. I
thought it was in center field of the Anaheim Angels Stadium when they had Big Thunder out there in center field. I'm kidding.
No.
Do you remember when they had that out there? They had like the Big Thunder ride from Disneyland in center field.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like that. But
well, the interesting thing is, as far as it being his rookie card, if you asked, if for Dylan's sake, I'll ask, if you asked other YouTube content creators, what Mays card would they say is the best Mays card or most iconic Mays card? Would they just have to go to the rookie? I mean,
no,
it's kind of a weird. What do you
try to get the 52 tops Mays. Try to get that one.
I love that card. The look of that card.
Yeah.
Is that what you think too, Jake?
Yeah, I think the 52 tops is his most iconic if I have to pick one.
Okay.
I don't like that card that much. He's got kind of a grimace on his face. It looks like he's like upset about something. So I'm not as big on that.
Again, do I have to bring back Satchel Paige to make my point on this? Oh, let's put down a hard playing baseball player because he has a grimace on his face. What the heck, man?
He's mad that people think that's his rookie card.
Yeah, there you go.
I did a quick little research and interestingly found the photo that card came from. So let me share that on the screen.
The crack research team here at Four Collectors.
He's in Sedona, Arizona.
So kind of interesting there. That
can you zoom in more, John? So that was the original photo, and then they added the tarp.
Yeah, weird.
Looks like instead of doing the net, would have been too hard to draw the net. So they just put something in there.
That's interesting. I would have liked how that card looked with the stadium.
The artist must have had a deadline. No one appreciates artists in their time.
Scott Reindeer Studio did not do that card.
Mm-mm.
Well, thanks, John, for showing us that. That's crazy.
Sure.
I do personally, though, the look of it, I agree with Matt. I like the look of the 53 card with the glove. I just think it's a really cool looking card, but I do agree the 52 is more iconic. I think a lot of that also has to do with how iconic the 52 set is and it being a tops card. So I think that kind of comes into play.
But I think Mookie Chilson got it right, because if we all closed our eyes right now and I said 54 tops, we know what that looks like.
But
yeah, I was exactly going to say, as far as my favorite looking one, 54. So,
all right, let's move on to number 2. At number 2, I think the chat kind of figured this out early. It is 4 in eye appeal, 3 for quality of career, and number 1 for importance to the hobby. It is the 1951 Mickey Mantle card.
Yes.
There it is. So, talking about this card a little bit, let's see here. It was everybody's number 1, but Jake for hobby importance. Jake was the only one that didn't rank at number 1. So, what card did you have at number 1, Jake, for hobby importance? Mantle was number 2, to be fair, by the way.
49 Leaf Jackie, and I'll explain why. I think Jackie's importance to the hobby and the game of baseball cannot be overstated, which for me narrowed it down to the Leaf or the Bowman. And I think the image in the card itself and the price and scarcity, etc., make the Jackie 49 Leaf in terms of hobby importance over the Bowman. So that's how I wound up with it as number 1.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
My rebuttal is to Jake on that, which he kind of said my answer. Hobby importance, not baseball importance. Hobby importance. The most important person in the hobby of baseball card collecting, is Mickey Mantle. He's been the most important person in the hobby since he became into the league, and he's been the most important person since 1969 after he left. And so as far as hobby importance, Mickey Mantle is the man.
That's fair, Chris. One additional thought, though. How many people do you ever hear say that I think Mantle's cards his prices for his cards are overrated, as opposed to how often do you hear anybody say that about Jackie?
Right.
My struggle, though, with hobby importance with Mantle is it's not his most iconic card. And there's another card that people call his rookie card. So that's where I kind of struggled with is I did rank it number 1 because it's Mantle, but I struggle with the fact if we were, it's actually the 52 card, obviously, is the card that everybody thinks of as his best card. Go ahead.
So again, how many times have you heard people say that the 52 tops is his rookie card, and then they got to say, oh, no, the 51 Bowman is his rookie card. The 51 Bowman gets mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
It gets mentioned a lot. So again, it's still, as far as, nobody argues too much about which one is Jackie Robinson's card, even though he's got 2, or anybody else's card. They will correct you. They will correct you as far as the Mickey Mantle goes. If you tell somebody that the 48 Leaf is the Jackie Robinson card, they'll say, well, he also has one in a Bowman. The Mickey Mantle, they will correct you. So I think the rookie card of the most important guy so far in hobby collecting, as far as vintage cards go, I think it has to be the most important card in the hobby.
Yeah, let's talk to can you hold it up while Greg talks about the eye appeal? Greg, you had it as the highest eye appeal for any of us. You had it number 3. John had it at lowest at 9. So what do you like so much about the look of this card, Greg?
I mean, it's like, why do I like that picture over that picture? I think it's a beautiful card. I think it's, I like the way that his bat is framed in over his shoulder. I like that he's looking over his shoulder. I like that he's got the Yankee hat on. I like that he's, you have the light towers in the back. I mean, it's just like I think it's pretty. I have a hard time. The eye appeal question, I always have a hard time defending. And earlier, you guys were picking on me on some eye appeal stuff. And you're like, well, why do you think that card? And it's like, I don't know. I just think it looks better. I mean, I don't really have like any science. Now, if we debated a career, I could say, well, this guy had a better career because of this and that. And, like when we're talking about, Yastrzemski versus, Mike Schmidt or something, like we can debate that and we could debate importance. But for me, eye appeal is just which one I think is better looking. And I don't know why I think it's better looking. I think it's a really good looking card. I think the 52 tops is a better looking card, which is also a beautiful card. I think that when I see this card, I have a lot of positive memories of like my childhood going to these big card shows and going, oh my gosh, that's a Mickey Mantle rookie card. And it just brings you this special feeling inside of like, it's that's the one, and and this is going to sound crazy to most people, but like when I first started collecting in 87, the chase card was the 86 Jose Canseco rated rookie card. And because of that, to this day, that card is like, it's beautiful. I have it in a 9, and it's like, it's beautiful to me because it just brings back this nostalgia of these good times and these good memories. And so the eye appeal is just, how does it make me feel when I look at it is what eye appeal is for me. And I don't know how to explain or quantify why that card makes me feel better than whatever number 4 is on my list, which is the Leaf Jackie Robinson. It just does.
Well, eye appeal is in the beauty of the beholder. That's why Chris hates all these cards.
Does anybody in this room like the actual just look of the? Greg said he doesn't, but does anybody in this room like the look of the 51 Bowman more than the Topps 52?
Oh,
I do.
yeah.
I do.
I do. Oh, I do. Yeah.
Interesting. Anybody in the chat think the 51 looks better than the 52? They just the look of it. I think that's interesting because I think 52 is just such a cool and great looking card. So I think it's interesting. All right, let's move on to number 1. Everybody knows what it is. Matt's doing a victory lap right now. At number 1, it got 1 for eye appeal, 2 for quality of career, and 2 for importance to the hobby. The 1954 Hank Aaron card. And just to talk a little bit about, I was actually kind of shocked with how everything turned out. So all 5 guys had the Hank Aaron card at number 1. So it was unanimous. It wasn't even close. Eye appeal, all 5 guys had this card at number 1 for eye appeal. And then quality of career, number 2 for everybody. So everybody had Willie Mays number 1 career and Hank Aaron number 2 for career. And hobby importance, it ended up I believe everybody had it number 3 for hobby importance.
I had it as 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think you had it 2 and everybody else had it 3. Yep. So it was pretty cool how we all everybody kind of thought alike. Actually, it was kind of nice. Do you guys think that this is the correct card to represent this countdown?
Yep.
Chris, you want to talk a little bit about the card?
Well, I actually had it at probably number 10. But Tyrus called me and said, "Man, my dad likes Hank Aaron, and I'll give you $20 at the next show if you do that." No, I think we got it right. I mean, the 54 set is a great looking set. It's a wonderful looking set, and I almost chose Hank Aaron as the best player over Willie Mays. It was really close for me, but then I got. I got Baseball Reference out and I put them both together, and it was hard for me not to take Willie Mays. But if I had to pick, if I had to line up Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and pick which one was going to be on my team, I'd pick Hank Aaron. He gets some flack around. I've heard some YouTubers talk about how he was out of shape, toward the latter part of his career. Well, in 1971, he was still in the top 5 MVP voting, I think. And I think he even hit 41 home runs just, and there's a in-action photo of him running around the bases on a home run. And he looks like he's just drank a 12-pack of beer and playing in a slow-pitch softball league. But, again, he still hit a ton of home runs. And for as great as he is and us ranking him number 1 in this, I think he's underrated. He's that great a person, that great a player.
Well, that's actually one point I was going to bring up for how great the card looks, for how great of a player he was. Should the card actually cost more money to buy? Should it be in higher demand? Or do you guys think, obviously the market dictates pricing, but you guys actually think that this card actually should be more pricey than it is right now?
It's supply and demand. There's a lot more of these 54 Hank Aaron cards than there are of the 52 Mantle or the 51 Mantle. I mean, you see a ton of them at shows, but people that have these, if they're not if they don't need the money, they're not selling it. And that's just a Eric, those back pages. What's he say? Never a bad day to buy
a Hank Aaron rookie card.
Exactly.
That's probably the number 1 card on my list if I got an expensive non-Clemente card.
You collect things other than Clemente?
I got a couple. If I did, I said, okay.
We're gonna have 2 channel name changes. Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Chris is from Missouri, and Theo collects something other than Clemente. Wow.
I'm going to start an offshoot channel. Everything but Clemente.
I'm actually jealous of that about the fact that you're so focused in what you collect, Theo, because I'm going 30 directions at one time, and I just feel like every time I turn around, there's more that I want, and I can't corral my eyes, and being focused is it's kind of a gift, really.
Yeah, I mean, I cracked up when you and Darren did the show, and like Darren's like that. He's just like a dog with a car. He just keeps.
Oh yeah.
And like I could see how that's tough. Jake kind of makes lists to try to stay focused. But I'm sure it's even hard for Jake with the autographs and everything.
I have many things on my list. If you watch my videos, Greg, you'd know that.
Oh, dude. That's so rough. Chris, I love watching Chris's card show videos because he comes home and he's got like the widest variety of stuff that he buys at a show. I need this to finish this run. I need this for this run. I need this one because it's on this what the Wade Boggs fan list. This one's on the top 100 cards list, and he's got so many lists, and it's so wide. You never know what you're gonna get when Chris has a pickup video.
If Chris would,
I'm focused.
if Chris would copy my list, he could collect forever.
Ooh.
Well, we went an hour and 45 minutes. I can't believe there's still 47 people in here. The chat's been amazing tonight, but the panel has been even better. I just want to thank you guys. Like I said, Chris has been on 7 of these, Greg's been on 5, and Jake's been on 6, and John's been on the background for 7. John, if you want to come out for the goodbye, but
alrighty.
We really appreciate all the support out there. This was just a lot of fun for everybody. Does anybody have any last words before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I want to say I don't want it to end. I think that we need to pivot. Let's not end it. Let's pivot it. Let's do, I don't know. You guys don't want to do football probably. I was going to say we could do the same thing with football, but let's do something because I have too much fun with you guys. And the chat is a blast, and I look forward to these. So it can't be it. We've just got to change to something else.
Well, now we got to move on to second-year card rankings.
Right up your alley, John.
Look at Jake. Jake's like, heck no. Jake's out.
I mean, I'm in, John, but then I'll just have to hear you talk about that every episode. I don't know, man.
I think it's amazing that John is even a part of anything rookie cards, as much as he's been a hater all this time on YouTube. But man, this has been a blast, and I think we can take away from here that we can go to a show and individually and look at a card and say, Jake would like this one, or Theo needs this in his collection, or Greg would like this one, and we getting to know each other and all this kind of stuff on this kind of video, and the guys in the chat. I mean, Mike Petty and Mookie Chilson and everybody else, Dylan. I mean, it's just fun this has been fun. No drama. No drama.
Been a lot of fun.
But come on, look at this, Chris. Now I'm a rookie card collector thanks to you, right?
Hey, yeah. Hey. Your voice is starting to change. Hey,
okay.
That's called being a man, growing up, being a man. Good job.
I got the big ass card.
I was going to say the butt of all the rookie card jokes.
And that was his rookie card. Wait until late in his career. That boy put some pounds on.
Wow. Well, we'll figure something out. Let's wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for watching. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Great job.